to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Let's get into it. Okay, so after the 2003 NBA Finals, which the New Jersey Nets lost to the San Antonio Spurs in 6 games. Jason Kidd in his quest to win a championship. Jason Kidd in his quest to win a championship almost joined the San Antonio Spurs after the series ended. No kidding, okay? He almost joined the San Antonio Spurs after the season ended, okay? Right there. Right there. Okay. So, Jason Kidd, according to Jason Kidd, he was all in on joining the San Antonio Spurs. Ironically, he already had Tony Parker. According to Jason Kidd, he said, I was in. So I meet with Tim Duncan and Pop, and I'm in. The one thing that was a holdup was it was a small thing. I was like, man, I got to sit here and watch you guys get the rings after just losing to you. That's just one game, and we'll get past it, and we'll have the opportunity to win more. Okay. But then the loyalty of building something in New Jersey, I think we could get there. But not knowing the business side of coming down. They traded Kenyon Martin after the 2004 season, okay? And after that, things pretty much fell apart for the New Jersey Nets after they traded Kenyon Martin. But according to Jason Kidd was very, very, very close to signing with the San Antonio Spurs because the Spurs really weren't sure what they really truly had in Tony Parker, okay? And I don't even remember this because I watched the 2003 NBA Finals, okay? I don't even remember this. But Tony Parker didn't even play the whole fourth quarter of Game 6, okay? It was actually Speedy Claxton who was his backup. He played the whole fourth quarter and helped the Spurs pull out Game 6, okay? Because the Spurs, they were trailing for much of that game. They were trailing by double digits. I do remember that. They were trailing by double digits for a lot of the game. Then they made the fourth quarter run to pull it out. Okay, but I don't even remember Speedy Claxton being on the floor the whole fourth quarter of Game 6. But yeah, he was. Tony Parker didn't play the whole fourth quarter. He was benched in favor of Speedy Claxton. So yeah. So while the Spurs were winning the championship on the floor, Tony Parker was watching from the bench. Kidd eventually went on to sign a 6-year deal with the New Jersey Nets. Okay. Gary Payton. Payton speaks on his exit from Seattle in 2003. Okay. Gary Payton said that at the end it just didn't work out. I'd actually be traded it happened that way. I thought I was going to be in Seattle for the rest of my life, but it didn't work out. Up until the midpoint of the 2002-2003 season, Payton was a 9-time defensive all first team, 9-time NBA All-Star. He was still averaging 20 points per game and dishing out 8 assists per game. And so GP was still GP. Like Shaq said, GP just didn't care. He said GP was the same the way GP acted on the court. Shaq said he was also the same off the court. Okay, but yeah, apparently the Seattle SuperSonics were under new management at that time, around 2002, 2003, and there began to be some tension between Payton and the front office. Gary Payton wanted respect, but apparently the new Seattle management at that time were going to take the team in a different direction. And so Gary Payton still didn't like the fact that he had to leave Seattle. And he also said that he never signed any long-term deals, okay? And after getting traded to the Bucks, he signed with the Lakers for 2004, the Celtics for 2005, then the Miami Heat in 2006, where he actually hit the game winner against the Dallas Mavericks in Game 3. So he hit the game winner in Game 3 that jump-started the Heat to 4 straight victories over the Dallas Mavericks in the 2006 NBA Finals. Okay. And so he finally won his championship in Miami, but he said that his heart was never in Los Angeles, Milwaukee, Boston, or Miami. His heart was always with Seattle. Okay. And so he basically said after he left Seattle, his career was basically complete. Okay. So he didn't sign any long-term deals, just like 1-year deals or something like that. Yeah. Which is a perfect segue into the person who he was traded for, Ray Allen. Okay. And ironically, the Ray Allen Gary Payton trade in 2003 also involved George Karl, who coached both players, right? So George Karl said years ago that trading Ray Allen wasn't the right thing to do. He said trading Ray Allen was not the right thing to do. And apparently, it was the signing of one player that led to the Ray Allen Gary Payton trade in 2003. So the Bucks were coming off 52 wins in 2001, made the Eastern Conference Finals, came within 1 game of getting to the NBA Finals, where they likely would have gotten their butts kicked by Shaq and Kobe. But anyway, so they came in within 1 game of the NBA Finals in 2001. And going into 2002, they felt like they needed one more piece. They already had Big Dog Group, Glenn Robinson, Ray Allen. They had a guy named Michael Redd who couldn't even get up off the bench. Future NBA All-Star Michael Redd, who couldn't get up off the bench early on in his time with the Bucks. Then they also had Irvin Johnson, Darvin Ham. So yeah, the Bucks were loaded. Okay, And they felt that the signing of Anthony Mason, okay, who had been an All-Star with the Miami Heat the year before, okay. Anthony Mason was an All-Star with the Miami Heat in 2001, and the Milwaukee Bucks felt that the signing of Anthony Mason to go along with Big Dog Robinson, Ray Allen, and they felt that that would get them over the top. Okay, um, but when the Bucks signed Anthony Mason, um, they quickly discovered what Anthony Mason was like. Attitude problems, wasn't coachable. He didn't see eye to eye with Ray Allen. Anthony Mason didn't. Okay, and I do remember the Bucks collapsing during the second half of this season and finishing 41-41. Okay, and missed the playoffs. Okay, so George Karl had this to say years ago. George Karl said that the Bucks had a great run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Next year, we signed Anthony Mason. That was probably the piece that didn't fit. That piece didn't work. You always think there is one more piece needed. That switch just didn't work. That's not working. That not working. The signing of Anthony Mason not working, created the domino effect of other things not working. Okay. And so when George Karl says the domino effect of other things not working, that means his relationship with Glenn Robinson, with Ray Allen, with other Bucks players. Okay. They also had sent him to sell too. Okay. Yeah. They also had sent him to sell. And that's probably one of the main reasons why Michael Redd was buried on the bench early on in his career with the Bucks, because Allen and Cassell were taking up the minutes at both guard positions. Okay. And then the trade for Gary Payton midway through 2002, 2003. Now you have two true point guards. Now you have two true point guards in Sam Cassell and Gary Payton on the same team. And so, yeah. So where you going to get your minutes from? Although Michael Redd eventually did emerge. Okay. Although Michael Redd eventually did emerge for the Milwaukee Bucks. As a matter of fact, let me see. I believe 2003 was his breakout year, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. See, this thing ain't even working right. Right. Okay, so let me see here. It's a shame that my hiker Red got injured. Okay, so it was around 2002 when Michael Redd began to emerge. 2001, of course, he was buried on the bench, only averaged 2 points per game. Then came alive in 2002, 11.5 points per game. Then Allen is traded in 2002, 2003, and averaged 15.1 points per game. So yeah, so you had Red, Cassell, and Gary Payton. I misspoke on that one. That's a blooper on my part. Okay. And so, yeah, so 2003 was Michael Red's breakout year. So, but obviously, George Karl said domino effect of other things not working. He didn't have a good relationship with Ray Allen. Big Dog Roy Robertson was traded after the 2002 season. You bring in a guy who basically plays the same position as Sam Cassell, right? And so, yeah. So, the Bulls Knicks is one of the premier rivalries of the 1990s. Okay, and we all remember the battles, the wars, the fights. Okay, just like the time Derek Harper got suspended for Game 5 because he got into it with JoJo English in Game 3. Actually, he was suspended for Game 4 and Game 5. Yeah. That's how intense his rivalry was. And that's just how silly Derek Harper was to get suspended for 2 games. Okay? For getting into it with JoJo English in Game 3. Nonetheless, one of the best rivalries in the NBA was Bulls Knicks. Okay? And this confrontation, and the confrontations just didn't happen between the players on the court. The Bulls met again. The Bulls and Knicks met again at the 1996 NBA playoffs, 1996 Eastern Conference semifinals. Okay, and the Knicks are now being coached by Jeff Van Gundy. Michael Jordan was back for his second three-peat. Patrick Ewing had a afro, believe it or not. He went from Patrick Ewing went from the hot top fade to the afro. Anyway, so anyway, so it was Game 2 of the 1996 Eastern Conference semifinals. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so it was Game 2 of the 1996 Eastern Conference semifinals. Okay, and this confrontation. The confrontations didn't happen between the players, only the players. Players and coaches can sometimes get into it. Just take a look at his footage. Let's take a look at his footage right here.
17 rebounds tonight. That is his, the foul was on Longer, his fourth. And Ewing's going to the bench. Oh, he's going after someone's making some sort of comment over there. Patrick didn't like what he heard. I didn't see that one to get it. Michael Jordan with his arms around Patrick Ewing acting as a peacemaker. You know what I love about situations like this? There's all the guys, look at all the players over in Chicago now, pointing at him. Jeff Van Gundy has come out. Ewing is still stalking and glaring. And Jimmy Clemons is pointing at Patrick Ewing from behind the bench. I don't know what Jimmy said. Well, he got a technical. So that obviously is the source of Ewing's anger. And we can see Jimmy right there talking to him. Patrick not happy. Patrick can't go over to listen to the coach. He can't pay any attention to what the coaches have to say. Thank goodness the official got in the way. Jimmy Clemons might have been smashed. How about Jeff Kersey? Kersey needs a medal for valor for getting in the middle of that one. So the technical.
Yeah. This rivalry just didn't extend between the players on the court. Patrick Ewing actually wanted to go over and fight Jimmy Clemons. Can you imagine that? That's how intense this rivalry was. The players, the coaches, the fans. This rivalry was so heated that Patrick Ewing wanted to go over and fight Jimmy Clemons. And a technical foul was called on Jimmy Clemons as a result. But yeah, that's how intense this rivalry was. That's how heated this rivalry was. Right. All right. That's it. And that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. May God bless you all. Peace out.